Okay, so like I just like made a video about Tim Shieff. So yeah, I'm getting like some recommended videos in my recommended. This is one of them. I recognize this lady. She's like unnatural vegan. So it's a 23-minute video, but I kind of want to watch it because it's only a year old, right?
Tim Shieff, you guys may remember. Tim Shieff, several years ago, I made a video. I think I called it Tim Shieff Should Not Be Vegan or something. This was after he denounced veganism after having been vegan for I don't even know how long. He was kind of propped up as this proof that you can be an athlete and be vegan. He did Ninja Warrior. I think that's kind of how he got.
Well, like to be fair, that's kind of a proof, right? Because like Ninja Warrior, it's a game show, but you got to be pretty athletic. So yeah, he proved that you could be a ninja warrior as a fucking vegan. I mean, like that's kind of awesome for veganism, right?
Popular, and then he was no longer vegan because of, I think, some vague health claims. And I just made
And I don't think the vague health claims were vague. If I remember correctly, they were not vague. They were pretty on point. And if you remember, he had like Betty's eggs, and he had some salmon, and then he had like, that old listeners from the VYC will know what I'm talking about. I just don't want to get like banned. He had like a reproductive reinvigoration by not going vegan. It wasn't vague. It was pretty kind of on point.
a video saying, like, hey, let's not just prop up anyone and everyone who says they're vegan. If someone is not eating a balanced vegan diet and promoting unhealthy dietary.
You know what's great? Like, I'm not a vegan, but I'm like vegan adjacent, right? I get the philosophical goals of veganism. And in like 2016, 2017, it was all absolute insanity, crazy claims. It was all about like basically money, selling ebooks, selling clicks, purity spirals, absolute insanity. Like, just look at one of my latest videos as a clip from Vegan Gains. Vegan Gains saying bivalves, which is like mussels and oysters, they're vegan. You could not say that back then. Do you know what I mean? Like, an abortion, okay, that's fine. In the insanity of 2016, 2017, an abortion is more vegan than eating an oyster.
Measures and drinking their own pee.
There's nothing in that that's not ran around your body already.
Oh shit, I remember this. Hang on. Let's just go back a little bit. I'm sorry, unnatural vegan, for interrupting you.
Pee.
There's nothing in that that's not ran around your body already that
You
you've
go
already
back more.
consumed.
Maybe here. Was that? No, about here.
I think that's kind of how he got popular. And then he was no longer vegan because of.
Well, he got popular because of not just the, what do you call it, fucking Ninja Warrior. He got popular because, no homo, he's a good looking guy. He's very charismatic, and he is awesome at marketing. Like, I'm not saying like he's a clever guy. He probably isn't in many ways that clever, but he's this like born genius at marketing. Like he just gets marketing in ways that like I can't even imagine.
I think some vague health claims, and I just made a video saying like, hey, let's not just prop up anyone and everyone who says they're vegan. If someone is not eating a balanced vegan diet and promoting unhealthy.
This is interesting because like basically this is Unnatural Vegan who's kind of sort of sensible, or at least back in 2016, 2017. 2016 was kind of sensible, and she was like the most hated just by being kind of reasonable. And here we have like a kind of reasonable but hated vegan talking about who became like one of the most hated vegans by kind of switching. But the prince, the vegan prince, who was later termed, I think it was the Prince of Piss.
Dietary measures and drinking their own pee.
There's nothing in that that's not ran around your body already, that you've already...
I just want to say one thing, like, I think Tim Shieff might be like a good guy, you know? But he's talking here to that like London real guy who is basically an absolute con man, grifter, cunt extraordinaire. And I get back then, like he had a big platform, this London Reels guy, kind of like a Patrick Bet, whatever the fuck that guy's called. Basically, both of them are just complete cunts who have kind of bought. So back then, London Real, this guy, he bought his thing, and Patrick Bet David bought his thing now. And I always get disappointed massively with anyone that goes on these kind of cunts fucking platforms. I get it. They got the exposure. You get your exposure for your message or your business. But come on, man. Like, you don't need to be a fucking genius to know that this London Real guy is a massive cunt. You don't need to be a genius to know that Patrick Bet David is a massive cunt.
Consumed
Right.
consciously, you know.
Right.
It's from you, it's for you.
Let's do this, Timothy Shieff. Cheers,
Bye,
buddy.
man.
Okay.
Like I said, that was years ago, but now we have an apology for my denouncement of veganism. Now, I already know the reason, kind of, I think I know the reason for this. When I showed this to partner, I scrolled down just a little bit. Let me see if it's still there. Yeah, the next video right under that is something about divine truth and meeting Jesus. I was like, dang it, I knew it. I was just about to say, I bet this has something to do with religion or some sort of epiphany type thing, and that all of his problems.
Nothing wrong with finding religion, and let's be honest, veganism, at least back in 2016 and 2017, was a religion.
Were nothing to do with diet. Like I just sensed it, and I was right, but I can't prove it now. So
I've wrote it in a letter form because it's easier for me to be concise, and then that way I don't just waffle on for 45 minutes.
appreciate it.
Many of you who have followed this channel for a while may know that
I just like to say that, like, everything Abbas Lassiel ever said about, like, a natural vegan, like, not being a good-looking woman or something. No homo. I think she's an attractive woman, you know.
I was vegan for some years from around 2012. Well, along with feeling like a hero for the planet, at the time and for a few years after, I noticed some great improvements in my health. But after a while, these tapered off, and I started to sense my health wasn't right. And I started to explore and experiment with a wide variety of things that my research suggested me to try. I was convinced a long water fast.
He's talking about, like, Betty's eggs, right? And the salmon. And I hope he mentions that the nocturnal emission, because that was like the icing on the cake, right?
This was all I needed to reset my system. But after that failed still to offer any lasting benefits, I felt ever more desperate. It was this desperation, however, that freed me from my own dogmatic vegan mindset. Things I took as signs of vitality appeared to improve. I strongly believed the vegan diet to be the cause of my declining health, and that not only me, but others were suffering too, but that they may have been trapped within the same blinkered vegan mindset that I had, and I wanted to help them break free from this dogma as I felt I had done.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay.
This dogma as I felt I had done.
You say blinkered? I love that word. What a great word. Can I use it? Am I allowed? That was one thing I talked about too in my Tim Shieff video. I think there are certain people who go vegan for primarily health reasons who have really high expectations for how they...
Yeah, like, what a bad idea to go vegan for health reasons when back in 2016, 2017, everyone who was a vegan YouTuber was just basically saying, if you're not vegan, it's the most unhealthy diet ever. Like, apparently, eating meat fucking kills you. It gives you atherosclerosis and all this kind of shit, right? This was the fucking mentality back then. It was like, veganism's the most healthy diet possible, but veganism's not a diet. It's an attitude or like a way of living. But also, it's the most healthy diet ever. Well, I think this kind of been proven wrong.
You're supposed to feel 100% of the time. I'm not saying this is every single person who is no longer vegan for health reasons. You could see my cosmic skeptic for an example of that, as someone who I think really would struggle on a vegan diet, certain conditions. But for others, I think there are just these really high expectations. I mean, there are people who've said, yeah, you don't get a cold if you're vegan, right? You don't get a cold like I have, stuff like that. I'm not saying he believes something like that, but I think there are really high expectations that some people have. And so
yeah, like the whole vegan diet was sold as like the perfect diet, and any illnesses that you have, anyone has, is because they're not a vegan. It was sold like that back in 2016, 2017. I saw it.
if they don't feel, I don't know, like 100% perfect, then something is wrong. And what's the obvious thing, right? Veganism. What's the big change that you've made in your life, or the thing that you do different from other people who you perceive as healthier? You don't eat animal products. So
yeah, like, you know it's kind of crazy. Like, I met this guy just like maybe like a week ago. I was talking to him and just looking at him, I said, like, are you vegan? He said, why do you ask that? I said, it's just like the way you look, man. And he said, no, but I was vegan for like 4 years until very recently. Do you know how I could tell he was vegan? Imagine meeting somebody randomly and saying, are you vegan? And then finding out they were vegan for 4 years. How do you think I could tell that?
Makes sense that that's the thing people would change. And I think I also talked about with him specifically, he is an athlete, and I think it hits people like that harder, aging, right? Just getting older and not being able to do the things you could do just a few years prior.
I knew many within the vegan community looked up to me because of my athletic ability as a representation and a beacon of health within veganism. But when I didn't feel good, I felt it was only right that I was honest about that. Well, as you can imagine, the response was quite varied. I got attacked by many in the vegan community. People I considered friends turned on me. I also had many in the community still show me love and wish me well on my journey.
I'm glad he said that. That's nice. Typically, it's just, oh yeah, the response was vitriol all the way, everyone.
Well, the attack was obviously what I felt the loudest, and I felt very misunderstood. I believed my motives were to help my fellow humans, and that I had done the right thing by being honest, and yet felt mostly attacked for that honesty. Something that felt eerily like my own relationship with my mum, but that is a topic for another time.
That is one thing I'll say. I never got any sort of dishonesty from him. He seems like a very honest person. I think he's just very easily swayed by dietary dogma. I mean, there's not many people who would drink their own pee. I know I keep bringing it up, but that, I think, shows his sort of mindset and how easily swayed he is.
Yeah, I think that's how he became like known as the Prince of Piss. But he became known as the Prince of Piss after he, what do you call it, like excommunicated veganism.
By anecdotes and just claims of health, success, and people saying this is the thing.
I'm not saying like drinking your own piss is a bad thing. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a fucking scientist. Maybe it's good.
That's going to cure every ill and make you feel amazing all the time.
I can see now that I chose to resist being humble and didn't really allow myself to just feel how misunderstood I felt. And I simply dug my heels in.
Like, fair play to Tim Shieff for like this, what do you call it, like a declaration that he's making, but he's reading it from a bit of paper. I mean, that's fine. It's okay, but like, I think it's always better to just talk from your head. Just speak straight from the heart, you know.
And continue to speak out against the diet.
And that is what happens, and I'm guilty of, I think, perpetuating that as well. I can be quite bitchy on here, and I don't think that necessarily helps. Yeah, you know, sometimes with this sort of thing, with anti-vax, right? If we're just mean and if we treat people like idiots, yeah, they might.
Hang on, it's fucking Unnatural vegan. Like anti-vax. What I mean by anti-vax, like anti the C word vax, which was absolutely proven to be bullshit.
Just dig their heels in and listen even less to the other side.
Well, it was shortly after that.
Like, this is an aside, but like, do you know how much shit I had to go through not to get the C-vax? I almost lost everything. Job, money, house, the fucking works. I had to, like, no shit, have absolute fucking massive balls to refuse the C-vax. And I'm not a fucking scientist, but everyone I know that had it, they all ended up getting the C. So it didn't work to stop them getting it. And many of them had really bad side effects. Some of them life-changing and life-shortening effects. And sure, like, you might not believe this, but it's fucking true. I know people who have 2 less legs than they had before they had it. I know someone who has a pacemaker who didn't have it before that. I know somebody that went bald in weird parts of their hair before they had it. I know somebody who was, at the time, was under 30, who got myocarditis, which was actually diagnosed by a doctor and a cardiologist to be as a direct result from that thing. I could go on and on, man. I didn't fucking get it, though. It was very hard not to get it.
My now friend but stranger at the time, Bex, approached.
So I hope she's not like calling Tim a anti-vaxxer because maybe Tim was not a fucking dumb cunt and didn't take experimental treatment that was proven in the end not to work.
Me. She talked to me about some of my relational issues with my mother that she could feel from me, and I couldn't deny that what she felt close to some truth and that it made sense. That was when she introduced me to the teachings of divine truth.
So someone involved in a cult saw an opportunity is the way that sounds to me. Not saying that's true. Probably it's just someone trying to help, but yeah, I can't help but hear. But to me, pretty much every religious experience sounds culty, so.
It was the teachings of divine truth that offered me a perspective on my battles with diet and health that no one...
Ah, shit. Now we're talking about this divine truth thing. This is like the video I made before. That's the divine truth, right?
or nowhere else had given me up until that point, other than my friend Anna, who had emailed me at some point prior to Bex, and also trying to share some of the teachings of divine truth. But I'd overlooked the email at the time.
Oh man, he's getting it from all sides, right? I mean, he had no chance. He had no chance but to join.
The teachings gave me clarity as to my own confusion and to why there is so much confusion around diet in the world today.
So this is just really sad to me. He's falling into the same trap, right? Instead of acknowledging that maybe there are just things that can't be changed and we don't have the answers to everything, including nutrition, he keeps searching for that one answer and that divine truth now, right? That's the answer. And I was going to say something I don't understand, but that's not quite true. No, I didn't grow up with religion, and I didn't grow up with, I don't know, this sort of we need to know the answer to everything mindset. And if we don't know the answer, well, it's God, it's God's design. But the reason I fell into raw foods was still that sort of thinking and objectivism as well. I liked the idea that there was just this set of rules and you follow those rules. Pragmatism be damned, context be damned. There is something very comforting in that. There is something very comforting in raw foods are the answer. Just eat a raw food diet. Everyone eat a fruit-based, low-fat raw food diet, right? There's something very comforting in the simplicity of that.
Yeah, unless you know about like diabetes.
And the ability to generalize in that way instead of saying, oh no, nutrition's a lot more complex than that.
Fuck off, man. Skip this shit.
Than that.
But what I had never considered was how my emotional state was affecting my body, my organs, limiting its ability to digest food and absorb nutrients. In the same way, we all know stress affects the body's ability to function.
Like, Tim Shieff sounding a bit crazy here, but actually, in a way, he's not crazy. Like, if you've ever been in like a super stressful, horrible job, or like a relationship with someone who's absolutely crazy and maybe has a demonic touch, right? Then you will understand that actually you can get like physical sicknesses from your lifestyle, I've had it. Like fuck, I had like a massive back problem, right? When I had a kind of crazy girlfriend, right? I mean, she might say I'm crazy, but the relationship was crazy. Like, I'm not shitting it. Like, when we broke up, like, not even like 2 days later, back problem gone. And I kind of believe some of this idea of like, that you can kind of like, I don't know, not a manifest, man, it's like a gay word. Like you can have some like actual genuine physical ailments caused by your life conditions. It's a fucking true thing.
Well, I have a lot of unhealed, unexpressed emotions from my childhood that I either didn't realize were still there or have tried to just let go of, but just letting go simply didn't work.
Absolutely, stress can affect our health, and, maybe he needs therapy, I don't know, but certainly releasing emotions and childhood trauma causes everything, right? It's not science. It's not evidence-based. I think he is just really, really, really hoping for the one thing.
It might not be like scientifically proven, but I think it's like pretty kind of self-evident if you've lived long enough and if you've experienced life that actually you can get sick from lifestyle and stresses. It's a fucking thing, man. I don't care what the scientists say. Fuck 'em all.
That's going to fix him.
By most people's standards, they would say that I had a fairly normal upbringing, a supportive family that provided everything I needed physically. But to all children who are sensitive, pure souls, it doesn't take much to create negative, fearful, and sad emotions. And when parents don't allow children to fully express themselves emotionally due to their own discomforts being confronted, they use methods to shut them down.
Yeah, but this is just a fucking idea that people like have. Is there a perfect childhood? I don't think so. You get the best of what you can get, and no one's gonna have a perfect childhood. And perhaps maybe nobody should have a perfect childhood. And shit's gonna happen in your life that what traumatizes you and stuff. This whole idea now, like everybody's like broken and traumatized. No, like that's probably just the way it's supposed to be.
Emotions then end up being stored as emotional injuries. It seems the only way to really deal with these and actually let go of them is to allow myself to experience and feel them.
This reminds me of that anger, well, it's not anger management, but that treatment for anger, right? Where you're supposed to just yell and scream and punch pillows and stuff. No, there's no emotional reservoir where we just store negative emotions and you just act out those emotions and then they're gone and then you're okay. That's just not how it works.
If you look at Eastern cultures, you see that emotions affecting organs is a much more commonly accepted scientific fact. In traditional Chinese...
This is where I'm on board with Tim Shieff. Like, forget all the other shit. I do actually believe that your mental state, your emotional state actually affects your health. It kind of works both ways too. Like when your health is good, your emotional state is better. When your emotional state is better, your health is good. They're kind of linked.
Medicine, you can see liver is affected by anger, kidneys by fear, lungs by grief.
Traditional Chinese medicine is full of garbage. It's full of absolute garbage, not evidence-based beliefs. Look up bile bears if you want a wonderful start to the day. If this is your morning, this is my morning. It is changing and improving. They have banned certain harmful practices, right? Really cruel, exploitative practices. Platypus, something to do with platypus, I believe, was one that has been banned. And even bile bears are not used nearly as much as they used to be. Just because other cultures do something doesn't mean it's correct. This is what science is for. And science is universal. It is not cultural.
No. Science is not universal. Scientific method is universal, but what we have in the West now is a kind of science as a belief system. Look at the last fucking 4 years with, the injections, if you don't believe me.
There are also other good Western books on this by psychologists. Books like The Body Never Lies, The Body is the Barometer for the Soul, The Body Keeps the Score.
I'm familiar with The Body Keeps the Score. And to be fair, this sort of psychology and, the childhood trauma.
Like all of this shit, do you know like the most healthy, well-balanced people I know? Don't do any self-help at all. Don't follow any kind of diet at all. Or nothing. They're just fucking happy. This whole industry we're seeing with like diet, health, self-help. It's for people that are not satisfied. You know, like they're broken or that they're looking for enlightenment or something. We're all enlightened. We're all okay. Let's just chill out and live our lives, man. But, you know, money's got to be made, right?
And these storings of emotion, you know, this isn't just alternative stuff. There are psychologists, therapists who believe this sort of thing. I just saw a video, a headline popped up for me from a therapist talk.
You know, like, my advice to anyone that's crazy, do your best to, like, stay out of mental institutions or the mental health industry. You know, like, you can sort yourself out, hopefully. If you get involved in that world, it can be very dangerous. You can end up on, like, all kinds of drugs. You can end up institutionalized. Just be crazy, sort your own shit out, because you don't want to get locked up somewhere. That's my advice.
Talking about the cause of schizophrenia, I think, and psychotic episodes is childhood trauma. Come on. So the truth is pretty much everything he's saying. I don't know about the liver anger thing. A lot of this he could get from an actual therapist. He could go to a therapist and feel validated, right? This isn't just weird religious stuff.
Fuck these adverts, man.
As Tim said, the authors of these books, like The Body Keeps the Score, that is from a psychiatrist, and yet that book is not fair.
Do you know, like, I think if you look at, like, the top 200 bestsellers on Amazon, like, the books, you know, I'm guessing, like, 150 of them would be self-help books. I mean, go look it up. I might be wrong. But that's the market, you know, self-help.
Very evidence-based. It promotes this idea that physical ailments are caused by trauma, that trauma actually changes the brain, even though the evidence for this is pretty lacking. For one thing, many of the studies have no data on the patient's brains prior to the adverse event or event.
Okay, it might not change your brain, but, like, I'm guessing unnatural vegans being lucky enough not to see some bad shit here in her life, right? I've seen some bad shit in my life, and it fucking changes you. You don't want it to, but it changes you. And I've seen, when my friends and colleagues have seen bad shit, it just changes you, man. Like, I don't care what the fucking studies say, if it changes your brain or not. It changes your perception of the world and how you deal with it. When you see something, that's kind of a little bit next level, right?
Prior to the trauma. The studies that do tend to show these differences were present before the trauma. In other words, it's probably more.
And I'm talking, like, as adults. Like, imagine if you're young, if you're like a kid and you see or experience heavy fucking crazy shit. It's gonna change you. It just fucking is. I don't care what the fucking scientists say, whether it changes, like, literally your brain chemistry. It's gonna change how you perceive the world and how you live in it.
More likely that there are genetic factors that dictate how we handle trauma. So, for instance, a genetic predisposition to PTSD, which could explain why only some people going through the same traumatic experience like war end up with PTSD. There are experts who truly believe in repressed memories, even though there is no hard evidence suggesting that's a thing. But there are therapists who really promote this idea of repressed memories and try to help their clients unleash these memories they don't remember. Yeah, nothing could go wrong there. To be clear, I'm not anti-therapy whatsoever.
Okay, she might be right about the release memory shit.
I just made a video about eating disorders and therapy. Highly recommend checking that out. I am quite a fan of therapy. I'm also quite a fan of drugs. I am on Prozac and Wellbutrin for depression. And
yeah, so she's on, like, Prozac and whatever for depression. I remember, like, actually a bassless yell like kind of went crazy like he does about this. But, and I'm not saying she shouldn't be on it, but I've helped some friends of mine not go on it just by talking to them and helping them to like kind of deal with their shit and not go on them. And I've had friends that have gone on them, and you know, like when you're withdrawing from it, when you're on the withdrawals are pretty much as hardcore or worse than the psychological effects you took it for in the first place, like anxiety and shit. I'm not saying like they're bad. I'm just saying they're way overprescribed and people take them way too easily, and they don't realize just how hard they are to get off. I'm not saying Abastos was right, but anyone watching this, man, like try to sort your shit out before you go on SSRIs, because they're not good to come off, and they're not good to be on.
Anxiety, and they helped me very, very, very much. I've been on them for years now, come off of them and regretted it every time and had to get back on them. But
yeah, because the fucking withdrawals when you come off them is fucking terrible, right? And I'll be honest, like, this is going to sound like an absolute cunt thing to say, but I will not date anyone on SSRIs. Sorry, I won't. I just won't.
With nutrition, right? There's a lot of pseudoscience, even from experts, even from actual dietitians and actual therapists.
I have learned that my suffering was and is twofold. One, unexpressed emotions from childhood, stored in my soul and manifesting in my body. Two, my choice to use addictions to continuously avoid feeling them. E.g., like using women to make me feel loved for the lack of love I felt from my mother, using food to suppress my uncomfortable emotions, using success in sporting endeavors to gain male approval for the lack of real love I felt from my dad.
That's all personal stuff, and I don't, I'm not a therapist. But yeah, those aren't really addictions. I thought he was going to talk about drug addictions and, liking women. Maybe you just like being around women. We're pretty awesome.
I'm sorry, but you can get addicted to women. Like, I've known people that have got very addicted to women or sex. It's a real thing.
We got boobs. In all seriousness, there can be a compulsion aspect to sex, right? Certainly someone who feels out of control, isn't being safe, that's going to be a problem, whether it's technically an addiction or not. But the religious nature of his revelation, makes me think it's just repressive religious shit, right? Like making men and women feel bad for wanting to feel good, for wanting to feel pleasure.
I'm also coming to see that there are two types of healing. Temporary, superficial healing, where you simply stop what ails you or is highlighting the issues to you. This is what most of the mainstream health industry and even the alternative health industry is still so focused on. The other type of healing is emotional healing.
Sorry?
It's the only one that seems to create lasting change. Healing at a root level, healing in the soul, and this can be aided by God.
Yeah, I can't help but feel so sad. And, I don't know, the childhood stuff, we're so resilient. Kids are so resilient. There are kids who go through really terrible trauma and they come out the other side. I don't know, maybe it's a
Yeah, some of them do and some of them don't.
mindset. But, I've gone through things that most people, one thing in particular that most of you watching, I'm sure, have not, and it was not super pleasant. I'm just going to leave that there, I guess. We're resilient. We can go through a lot and
Well, I'm sorry for what happened to you, and I'm glad that you came through it.
come out the other side, and we don't have to be totally broken.
Good morning. Stop being bloated. Stop being gassy. Stop being heavy with Dulcolax. Get overnight constipation
YouTube
relief
needs
that
to
works
fuck
naturally.
off these ass.
Broken.
I am still quite new to looking at things from an emotional perspective. I don't think I've made much progress with it yet, but I can't deny how much clearer a picture it paints on my own struggles. And it puts the responsibility onto me, which is both empowering and daunting. But overall, it seems fair.
We all want to be in control of the bad things that happen in our life and in, fixing our health, right? It's why so many people with cancer turn to diet and exercise and whatnot.
Yeah, you're talking about cancer, but really, like, actually, both of you guys are pretty young. And veganism for you was like, and for him was like a health thing, you know. Not to sound crazy, it's a fear of death. You guys were kind of scared of dying. We're all gonna die, man.
We want to believe that we are in control of it and even that we caused it, right, by not eating healthfully. That's not to say we aren't in control. I think largely we are, and including in our emotional state and our ability to move past things. I think we do have a lot of control there. Hopefully it's a positive thing for him. Hopefully he doesn't put too much pressure on himself to feel better about himself and his place in the world. Truly, I wish him all the best. I hope he does well. I hope he feels better. I really don't know anything about this divine truth. I know I keep saying cult. I don't know what it is. Partner did say that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of finding out. It's basically like this Australian couple who are the reincarnation of Jesus and Mary. I'm not saying they're not the reincarnation of Jesus and Mary. I'm saying that they believe they are the reincarnation of Jesus Christ and Mary.
There's some like vegan Jesus or something. Maybe that's what this is. And maybe that's why he's specifically apologizing for denouncing veganism. I don't know. I'll have to look into divine truth, I guess. So I did look into divine truth, and yes, it is vegan Jesus. This guy, Alan John Miller, he believes he is Jesus. He and his girlfriend, I think, Mary, and yes, she thinks she's that Mary. Both of them eat a vegan diet, a raw vegan diet, according to this. I think this is from 2015, so maybe not raw anymore, but yeah, he says in this that most people struggle with being vegan because of what Tim Shieff was talking about, right? Because of emotions that affect us physically, namely our ability to digest food.
I've talked to people about, love would sooner or later mean that you'd give up meat in your life, because you love the animals and you don't want to see them harmed. Sooner or later, we would give up our desire for meat. But if the person who hears those words then goes, oh, I have to give up meat, and I really like meat, if they don't address that issue, and they just give up meat because they've been told to, then their body will demand it still, and this is how many of them become emancipated. They lose all this weight and everything because the body, their soul, is still desiring the meat that they've given up. Yeah. If your body has
sounds kind of based to me, man.
Stopped desiring it, and you've truly given it up in your soul, then you won't lose weight. You won't. When I say you won't lose weight, you won't go so thin that you go to the doctor and the doctor says, "Oh, it's because you're lacking protein." That won't never happen to you if
the vegan diet is not lack of protein; it's lack of fat.
You have given up the desire for it in your soul.
Miller is infamous for his filmed seminars, which often involve counseling sessions and healing, where his followers' issues are often blamed on their parents.
I have a lot of unhealed, unexpressed emotion.
No shit, like I've just watched like the first seminar of like this Jesus and Mary thing, and it was pretty interesting. I'm actually gonna look on YouTube to see if I can see any more of it. Maybe it's all like behind a paywall or something, but I'd actually watch more of it. It was fucking interesting.
It's from my childhood.
I hope he doesn't just fall into another trap, right? This is the answer, and then it's not the answer because there is no the answer, and maybe there's no real problem in the first place. But I do appreciate him taking the time to apologize to the movement, I guess, even if his kind of reasons for doing so are a little wonky, a little misguided in terms of, divine truth. As much as I think we want every health aspect to be in our control, it's really nice and freeing to know the truth, capital T, that's just not the truth and it's just not possible. And we can do what we can. And obviously eating healthy is very important, and exercising.
Yeah, eating healthy is important. Exercising is important, whatever. But the vegan diet in 2016 2017 was sold as the healthiest diet. That eating meat's like completely unhealthy. Meat gives you fucking cancer. Meat gives you fucking heart disease and shit. And I think people are realizing that's not the fucking case.
And managing stress and getting enough sleep. But beyond that, you know, you still might get cancer. You still might have a heart attack. You still might just get hit by a car and die. And I think there is some freedom in accepting that. I don't like it. I mean, I want cancer to be cured, right? I don't want Hank Green to have cancer. I'm sure everyone's already saying it, but his videos on it.
Oh, it's interesting that she's like got this guy on. You see this guy here? He pushed a particular treatment for the C word pretty heavily. What happened to him, man? Just saying. He pushed it hard.
Are wonderful. I think he's doing such a
Karma's
good job of just
fucking
normalizing
bitch.
it while providing really important information in a really nice way, the way he always does with sciencey stuff. He's one of the best science communicators, I think. And I hate aging. I want to live forever, you know, and I hope one day that we can put a stop.
Well, yeah. The thing is, like, we're all gonna die. And some of us will be painless in our sleep, by accidents, whatever. But, you know, like, I had this friend, he was like, what, he's like 70 something? Late 70s. He had all kinds of shit, man. And what he said to me, getting old sucks. Getting old is horrible. That's just the way it is, you know. We're all gonna fucking die. It's a fact. And most of us are gonna go through really hard times trying to hang on. Not to be depressing, but doesn't matter if you have the healthiest lifestyle or the worst lifestyle. For a lot of us, it's gonna happen. Sorry.
To aging. People think I'm like joking, but I'm really not. I'm pretty confident that our descendants are at least going to be able to extend our lifespans greatly. Not mine, of course.
Jesus fucking Christ. How do you skip this shit?
Descendants are at least going to be able to extend our lifespans greatly. Not mine, of course. For now, like, we're gonna die. Everyone watching this video is gonna die, and is probably not gonna live to 100, and that sucks. But knowing it and accepting it, I mean, what's the religious thing? I actually
See, she's on board with exactly what I'm saying.
do like that phrase. Accept the things you cannot change, and do something with the things you.
Yeah, like, the most you can hope for is dying in your sleep. Dying quickly of a heart attack, or, I don't know, you make a wrong turn, a fucking truck runs you over. Those kind of things, you know? But it's going to be a little bit fucking worse for a lot of us. It's going to be a horrible, painful, slow decline of health. Sorry. It's just the way it is, man.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. I would love to know your thoughts on this whole thing, and Tim Shieff, and any other stuff you know about Divine Truth.
Well, you know, like, at least Tim Shieff is, like, looking ahead to what comes after, you know? What comes after this? We don't know. At least Tim is looking forward to it. Looking ahead. I've got all respect for Tim Shieff for getting into this careful what I say thing.
I'm sure I'll look into it and put it in this video You would have seen it if I did. But yeah, I would love to know your thoughts on all of this. And I hope you're all doing well, having a nice June. Sorry, I've been kind of absent for a while, sick and all of that, but should be back to things now, feeling much better. Like the video, please, if you did, and subscribe, of course, really helps out the channel. And of course, you'll be notified, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, just to talk about Unnatural Vegan for a second. I get it. I think some people need SSRIs. There is some people that need them. Like, for instance, if you're that unstable that you could be a danger to yourself, then yeah, SSRIs can help you. Maybe they will help you, and go for it. But I also think sometimes you just need to like get through something mentally, change your life, change how you live, that kind of shit, you know? Which, there's a big problem in the UK, at least, where like SSRIs are given out like fucking candy. I mean, look it up on Google, right? It's something stupid. I'm not even fucking joking. It's something like 25% of adults are on SSRIs or antidepressants. That's not right. Surely.
You might not, but you might be notified when I upload new videos. You'll definitely be notified if you click the bell and you have your notifications on. Thank you so much, of course, to my patrons at patreon.com/unnatural.
Okay, I hope that was an interesting fucking response. Hopefully I didn't say anything too bad. Catch you guys later.